Breathing is, of course, one of the essential parts of being alive, and it's inextricably related to our voice. And both breathing and the voice share the capacity to be gateways between our psychic realms, the embodied experience, and the part of us, that mental clarity that can have intentional direction and focus of our muscles and our structure, so that we can impact and change and modify and work with how we breathe and how we voice. Now, why do I like to think of breath as a storyteller? Well, because we learned and made unconscious most of our breathing patterns and habits over time and early on. Our body does this naturally so that it liberates energy and we don't have to actually think about each breath that we're going to take. And so these things that are in our breath and how we breathe and how we move our muscles and what spaces we have really reveal to us how we work with our energy in our life, how we move and have different dynamic experiences of the relationship between our body and our psyche. So it's really a beautiful storyteller when we come back to it with that openness of wanting to explore, what is the story my breath is telling? We can begin to unravel that story by bringing our awareness to it. But it's not quite as simple as it sounds, because of course that may be obvious. Yes, I'm going to pay attention to my breath. However, there's a little bit of a caveat, because often we have an idea of what spacious breathing or meditative breathing, or even just correct breathing, if that exists, is, what it feels and what it looks like. And we quickly superimpose it on the natural, organic way that we've been breathing when we bring our awareness to it, because it tends to be this unconscious process. So that's a little bit tricky. And I suggest, to counteract that, having a spirit of curiosity and checking in with your breath many times during the day. Just to observe, just to notice, and avoid that superimposition that can happen. So what can you pay attention to? You can start with your inhalation and exhalation. Do you find yourself feeling more comfortable or spending more time on one or the other? Is your inhalation longer, or is your exhalation longer? Are they very different in how they feel in your body? And what about the gaps in between, the little void after each one? Is that comfortable? Or do you notice that you rush to the next breath? And then you can also explore where you feel breathing happening in your body. Now, we know anatomically what happens, but where do you feel it? Is it up in your chest that you feel that you're breathing, or perhaps lower in your belly? Is your back part of that process? So in that way, you begin to paint this picture of what the story of your breath is, what your dynamics, what your patterns are. And once you have that, you can of course do focused and intentional breath work. I will be bringing you some videos for that in the future. But I like to work with a practice in between, and that is something called sensual breathing. So sensual breathing is an exercise that has a very simple intention. in this practice, you are the one being breathed. So there's no desire to change or control or modify your breath. We are opening up a space where deeply held habits, patterns, even contractions can come up to the surface and soften on their own. Trying to work with the breath can be a little bit like being in the ocean, trying to work with a wave, right? We never stop breathing. So we need to develop a way to let the natural organic part of us support in that process. So what is breathing you in this practice? These are the extensions of your bodies, your subtle, energetic, electromagnetic bodies. You don't have to think about it too much, but most of us have a natural sensation that we are larger than just the physical body. So however that comes up for you, you can feel that, tap into the felt, sort of pulsing sense of it, and that is what is breathing you. So as you inhale, you are being inhaled by the ocean, and then exhaled by the ocean, and inhaled, exhaled. And what you can play with is the fullness of each wave. Does it feel good to be inhaled deeply? As you surrender and give yourself over to the water of your breath. Or does it feel good to be inhaled softly and then exhaled softly? Or like an accordion, opened up and then released. As you can see, I use my hands and arms to help in this process, and it gives my mind something to do so that I am not trying to direct my breath. So if that feels useful or helpful, you can add that to your practice. And then whenever it feels ready, let sensual breathing continue on without movement. And the beauty of sensual breathing is you can do it at any time. You don't need to set a specific space for it, because it's just switching that sense of, I'm going to practice with my breath and I'm doing it. It is being done. So I hope that this practice brings you energy, and I really, really love it. It brings me joy to feel breathed in this way, to feel lived by life. So I'm happy to share this one here today. If you have enjoyed it and you want, to also be in tune for those more directed breathwork practices, then please subscribe, because I will be sharing a lot more about that in the future. And I will see you back, hopefully quite soon.